found it, the soul of connection. If you're succeeding at everything except the relationships that matter most, this is for you. I'm Tressie Yanakawa, brain science, no fluff, real change. Welcome, Susan Bratton, for this very unique conversation. I think this is a huge opportunity for people who either do or don't want to talk about what you like to talk about, to be here, be present, to learn and to try some new things. So I'm super excited to have you. Thank you so much for being here, Susan. Can you tell us what you love about what you do?
Oh gosh. Hi, Tressa. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I don't think the people who don't like sex are going to come to this episode. So I always focus on speaking to the people who want to become better lovers, who understand that making love, having incredible orgasmic experiences, being heart connected, that we barely get any sex education, and we certainly don't get any love making education. So all we ever see are things that come from movies, television, pornography, etc. And really all of that is still a very transactional, I call it friction instead of connection. Um, and it makes people feel very uncomfortable that they're not like normative or what have you. And so, what I've been doing for the last couple of decades, I left a Silicon Valley career, and my second career was launching a publishing company and publishing the work of my mentors in the area of passionate lovemaking and human orgasm. And then I started writing books of my own, books and programs, and I've written 34 books and programs. I'm working on my 35th, which is about yoni massage, because that's something that I've been teaching for many, many years. And so now I'm just kind of putting together all of the different things that I've ever talked about with regard to yoni massage. And that'll be my 35th book. So I just like to teach people how to have heart connected, conscious, passionate lovemaking.
That is not just a goal, it should be the norm. It should be
Yeah.
the norm, and it's absolutely not. And you know, and I know, we've been working with people for decades. How long have you been in this work?
More than 2 decades.
Okay. And I've
Mm.
been in for 3, and I love it, and it never feels like work. And it sounds
Yeah.
like it's the same way for you.
Yeah.
It's a calling, I'm curious how you first came to this work, because it's not something that they give us in high school on our job, options form to fill out. So,
I know. And it's even more unusual in that most people who are in my world are sex educators, or they are therapists,
mhm.
or they're trauma healers or something like that. Now there are more and more young people coming in as coaches and things like that, which I think is great. The world has really expanded. I actually run a business mastermind for my sexpert community around the world, because we're constantly censored and shadow banned. And that just makes it really hard for people to get this information. It's exactly what happened to me. I've been with my husband for 35 years, but about a dozen years into our relationship, I'd stopped wanting to be intimate with him. It wasn't satisfying for me. I'd never had an orgasm from intercourse. And he thought it was something wrong with me. I thought it was something wrong with me. Well, lo and behold, it was the fact that we were just the blind leading the blind behind closed doors. And so we decided to try to learn how to fix our problem, because we're growth mindset people. We're entrepreneurs. We're business minded. If we don't understand it, we'll buy a book or a program or ask people or what have you. We went to a couple of therapists, but they were really marriage therapists, and they weren't trained for sex education and pleasure. So we ended up going to some tantra classes, some sex, love, and intimacy classes, things like that. We learned the expanded orgasm practice, and it almost immediately turned our sex life around. Somebody just needed to tell us what to do. And we realized very quickly that most pleasure-based information is highly censored and very difficult to get out there. And so we wanted to help couples who lived anywhere in the world learn how to be good in bed together. And so that's just what we started 20 years ago. We started doing that.
I love that because you came through it out of the fire. And instead
Yeah.
of what most people do, which is just say, well, this is as good as it gets, or
Right.
have
I'm
an
going to cheat.
yeah, or have an agreement to be able to see other people
Don't
without
ask, don't tell.
exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of that. Instead of that, you said, no, we actually want to fix this. And I think that's brave in today's world, brave in the world when you did it, because that is not the path of least resistance. Because like you said, we haven't had access to the education. And that's what I say too about communication and connection and relationships of any kind. And one of the things that I have heard for 30 years from one spouse or the other is that my emotional needs are not being met, and yet my partner expects me to jump into bed just super happy because they're naked. And what can you share with people? Because I know this is super common. How can you help that?
Well, one of the things that you have to do is you have to meet your partner's relationship values outside the bedroom before you can expect to be satisfied inside the bedroom. And so, one of the books that I wrote was a book called Relationship Magic. And really, what it is NLP values elicitation applied to relationship. And so what it gets to is not the checklist of, the perfect person, but instead, what are the feelings that you want to feel in relationship with someone? What are the needs that you have? And your partner's needs are going to be very different than your needs. So often I find that for people, understanding what it is that that person wants from you, and then just getting up every day and focusing on that really makes things different. We tend to treat each other the way we want to be treated. The golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. But the platinum rule is a better configuration in the dynamic of relational interaction, because especially if it really doesn't even matter whether you're gender non-binary or whatever you are, heterosexual, cisgender, monogamous people, it doesn't matter. We want different things based on who we are, our attachment dynamics, our upbringing, our need states, et cetera. And they actually stay pretty fixed throughout your life. They don't change much because they're values based. They're not surface things like I want somebody tall or what have you. And so I think starting there, because if you think about libido, desire, and arousal, they're really three very different things. Libido is your health. A lot of women say, oh, my libido is in the tank. I don't want sex. Yet they may be healthy. And it's not usually their libido that's the problem. It's often their desire or the inability that they've had to have enough stimulation to actually feel aroused.
Yeah.
Especially in a male-female pair bond where men have the benefit of being testosterone dominant. They wake up with morning wood, they're horny, like if I ask my husband, do you want to have sex? Anytime he'll be like, definitely, and rocks out and he's ready to go. Where like if he does it, do you want to have sex to me? I'm like, dude, I'm doing shit, like I'm busy. And so and so we're different, and men don't live in our bodies, we don't live in theirs. So if you think about libido is really the other side of the same coin as your health. It's if you don't feel well, you don't have much desire to have sex, you don't have libido. Desire is, how do you feel about yourself? If all you're doing is calling yourself a big fat piece of crap and talking down to yourself, and you don't love your body, and you're just really beating yourself up and you don't feel desirable, or your partner you don't desire your partner. They're not treating you well, or they're doing things outside the bedroom or what have. That's a stumbling block. And then there's arousal, and arousal is a lot of times where I really spend a lot of time explaining to people that men are often much more able to drop into their readiness for sex than women are. Women don't walk safely in the world. We are very multitasking compared to most men. We just we have very, very a slow arousal process. It's almost like this ladder that goes straight up, And at the bottom of the ladder, there are these giant spaces between the rungs. You practically have to do hand over hand to climb this ladder. But then as you begin to climb the ladder, the rungs start getting closer together. And then it turns into a little stair steps. And so now you're climbing stairs. Then the stairs become these nice low risers, and they're really easy to climb. And then it turns into an escalator. Then it turns into a super highway. And so you're really turned on, and you're having incredible orgasms, and you're totally relaxed, and you're completely surrendered to your pleasure. And you're like, how come we don't have sex like this more often? You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, we're so, we drive you crazy. But men don't live in that body. They almost have an escalator from the get-go. And so they think there's something wrong with us, and we think there's something wrong with us. They have fast-acting hemodynamics, blood flow. We have slow seepage of blood flow, and pleasure runs on blood flow. It really does. Without blood flow, your genitals don't get engorged, and then you basically have a flaccid, lady boner. You barely get a lady boner, and you need that because the more the tissue is plumped up in our genital structures from the blood seeping down into our pelvic bowl and seeping into all our erectile tissue. We have as much erectile tissue in our vulva as men do in their penis. It starts out this big, it's giant, same, but we have innies instead of outies. We can't see them.
Right.
And so we can't see how slow and recalcitrant those little erectile tissue structures are. And so once we get them plumped up and we get turned on, now we have all this surface area that when it's touched and licked and stroked and we have intercourse, it sends way more pleasure signals to our brain, which is our biggest sex organ, not because of dirty talk and fantasy, but because it is actually our somatosensory cortex is our pleasure processing center. And if it doesn't get any input, it doesn't register as pleasure. And so giving women, this is another thing too. Foreplay and sex is a very poor structure for the female body. But you're like, wait, don't women need a lot of foreplay? Yes, but when we're focusing on the goal of intercourse rather than thinking all the things we're doing, full body touch, kissing, breast pleasuring, yoni massage, going back to yoni massage again, giving women some manual genital stimulation, using some oscillators and vibrators and different toys to stimulate that tissue really helps her begin to have more orgasmic pleasure earlier on in the lovemaking date, which then makes all the things that happen feel good. So she's more likely to want to have sex with you when she knows you're going to slow down to her speed, give her the sensations that she needs, get her relaxed and out of her head and into her body, help her get under her butt and push her up that ladder. And I call myself an orgasmonaut. I have over 20 kinds of orgasms. And I've learned how to have every single one because all orgasms are learned skills by all of us. None of us are born knowing how to come. We come to coming. And we can learn all these ways. And so even though I have incredible sex, incredible partners, incredible orgasms, I still need my partner to lay me down and hold me, tell me I'm beautiful, tell me what he loves about me, gives me a yoni massage, lets me play with his penis while he's playing with my breasts and we're kissing. This is what we don't see in movies, we really don't see a lot of this in romance novels. Women swim in the same fishbowl as men, and it's not the water is murky in there. So I think that's really where I come in is what are the techniques that get you guys really having super hot, heart-connected, passionate, conscious, present love making together that keeps getting better your whole life long, getting on the upward pleasure spiral where sex just keeps getting better as you age, not worse, because that's what it does when you practice lovemaking.
Yes, it absolutely should get better. We are sexual beings until the day we are no longer in these bodies. And I think, like so many women of, I mean, this generation and generations past are of the opinion, because we have been raised through, like, I think porn, movies have, marketing has, like everything has this age expiration on it, and also those are things we should never talk about. You should have great sex, but you should never talk about how to have great sex. It should just be something that and I think that's really scary to a lot of people of all genders, because unless we learn this together, if I learn this and my partner isn't learning it, and I come, jump into the bedroom and I say, okay, we're going to try all these things, it's very scary, off-putting, and the limbic system, right? The
Yes.
amygdala goes, wait a minute, I'm on alert because this is scary and I'm being
Yes.
threatened, and my survival's at risk. So how do we enter into the discussion? Like, what is step one when we're not satisfied with sexual pleasure at home?
Yeah. Oh, and it just dawned on me. You should have Nan Wise on your show, Dr. Nan Wise. She's a sexual neuroscientist. You would dig her.
Oh,
I'll
yes.
introduce you. Remind me to, and I'll introduce you to her too.
Okay, thank you.
So step one is that sex that keeps getting better has a combination of two things. It has trust and safety. So you trust your partner's not going to hurt you, and you can surrender to your pleasure and be yourself, and
Yes.
they'll want that. And novelty and variety. And so a lot of people in long-term relationships, they don't get the novelty and variety, and so they have the kind of monotony of monogamy. That's what happens, and that's just boring. It's not exciting. And so the very first thing you have to do is have a conversation that you want to try some new things together and see if your partner's open to it. And come to the understanding that having good sex is a series of learned skills, and you can keep getting better. That what you're doing right now is most likely, you're probably in kindergarten, maybe first grade if you've had a lot of partners. But even if you've had hundreds of partners, you've been doing the same things over and over. And because sex and sex education is so massively censored and getting worse right now in the United States of America, they're pulling down all kinds of content from all the social media channels
Yes.
because of, what's going on there. And so it's getting harder to find information instead of easier. And so when you begin with a beginner's mindset, it starts to create new relationship energy, even if you've been together for a long time. And so probably one of the things that people love, one of my followers' favorite things that I give away is something called the Sex Life Bucket List. And that is, I think everybody should have a sex life bucket list. And I put together what I call 48 erotic play dates, ideas for ways that couples can begin to learn new things together. It's at sexlifebucketlist.com. It's very easy, sexlifebucketlist.com. And what that gives you is, I give you a little video, and my recommendation is to print it out. It's an 8-page PDF. Print it out, make 2 copies, and watch the video together on your phone or your laptop in bed with your partner. And there's a little, beside each of the 48 things, there's a little line. You mark it an A, a B, or a C. A is, this is definitely something I've been wanting to do. I wanted to find my G-spot, or do G-spot deactivation, or learn female ejaculation. I'm just picking one little category here. There's 48 things, but that's like one category of things that a lot of women are curious about. And then B's are, well, it wouldn't be something that I would necessarily be dying to do, but if it's something that really turns you on, I would totally do it. Like maybe it's, like exhibition, having sex in a place where you might get caught, or, doing like a lingerie photo shoot for your husband's spank bank or whatever, and then, so those are B's. Like, no, I wouldn't put it on my A list, but if it's on your A list, I'm a hell yeah. And then C's are, it's not for me right now. And I say, always add that right now.
Mhm.
Because another book that I'm kind of working on in the back of my mind right now is a book that I laughingly title Yet, Y-E-T. And really what it is my whole guide to all the kinds of orgasms that we can have and the pathways to each one.
Mhm.
And this is decades of my work that I've been doing. And, so many women say, well, I can't have an orgasm from intercourse. And I always say, yet. You can't have a female ejaculatory experience yet. You can't have a P-spot orgasm yet. You can't have a yet because you just didn't do it yet. You didn't learn how. Nobody taught you the steps. Easy, 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 easy. All bodies can do them. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. Everything is fine. You learned one pathway or maybe two pathways, but there's literally infinite pathways to pleasure. And it's really that orgasmic intimacy that is the thing that keeps you living longer. The orgasms themselves are very important. So when a sex educator says, "Oh, it's not that important for you to, have an orgasm. It's just nice to be close." I'm like, "Bitch, pull in your degree." Like, that's not acceptable. Like, you do not know what you're talking about. Stop saying that,
Mhm.
because all of that pleasure is learned. And when you have orgasms together or solo, through your solo pleasuring, which is a very, very important thing, you're doing a neurotransmitter cascade, you're doing a hormone cascade, you're oxygenating your brain so you have better cognitive function, you're releasing natural killer cells, and your IgA is improved. And I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. Mind, body, and spirit are completely bolstered health wise. And so when biohackers and longevity experts talk about the three pillars of, longevity being recovery and sleep, nutrition and movement and exercise, those three things, I'm like, you forgot number four. It's called orgasms and intimacy, orgasms and oxytocin, right?
Huge.
That's the good shit.
That's the good shit.
So,
And
yeah.
we can move through a lot of hard stuff interpersonally when we're
Mhm.
having great sex.
Exactly.
It's true, and it's been true for me, it's been true for everybody I've worked with,
Yeah.
that God, today was really difficult, but when we can come together intimately still, there's something huge that happens there that's very sustainable, that will stay longer, will work
Yes.
harder, because we don't find that everywhere. There
Yes.
is, and it's not just frequency velocity, right? It's also, like you say, how do we keep things interesting and playful? How do we stay
Mhm.
curious? How do we keep the wonder and awe? How are we surprised? And that, most women, I will say, tell me, starts happening cognitively long before any clothing comes off or any dressing up
Yes.
happens or anything.
Yes.
It's beyond flirtation, though. It's an intimacy of closeness. So
Yes.
how are we recognizing each other? How are we holding space with each other? Do I get surprised, and do I do this thing where I go, "Oh my God, you look really hot today." Like, just you standing there in the sunlight, whatever is.
By the way, you do look really hot today.
Thanks, Susan. So do you.
Thanks, Tressa.
Right. And that just sets something in your brain
Mhm.
alight, where it's like, oh, the butterfly wings start flapping a little bit. And then it's easier to move through the day with more of that, rather than you never, can't you even take out the guard, all of those things. When
Yeah.
we can recognize something that we appreciate in each other, that is an intimacy
Yes.
that can move us into this kind of, like, ecstatic intimacy that you're talking about, that we all want. I'm downloading your sex life bucketlist.com list. I think even when we're very practiced, that's something that we can go, oh, that I never thought of that.
Yeah.
That.
That's what I think is my job. My job is to come up with new erotic adventures for you to try. That's how I think about what I do. It's not that I teach you how to be a good lover or sex techniques. What I'm really doing is I'm creating playful experiences that expand your orgasmic capacity, generate more oxytocin, deepen your heart connection, increase your self-confidence and your body love, extend your lifetime, your lifespan and your health span and your happiness span. Like that's what I'm really doing here. And
Yes.
people need good ideas. That's,
People,
I think we would watch a lot less Netflix if we had more erotic adventures.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. And if we knew that it wasn't just going to be the same thing, or that we were
Yeah.
actually, there, I've heard many people, I've said, and I've heard many people say, yeah, is it worth getting dirty? Is it worth getting messy for?
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. And how do you make it feel safe for
Mhm.
people to try new things regularly?
Yeah. It comes from having very good bedroom communication. So early in our conversation, I mentioned that there are three like pillars of my business, in my skill set. And the first one is the techniques themselves, do this and then do this and then do this type of thing. The second is bedroom communication. And the third is intimate wellness. And you need all three. And so the communication technique that I think is the foundation. It's interesting. If you want to learn sex techniques, you can do anything. You can start with blowjobs, or you can start with, breast pleasuring or yoni massage or lingam massage. You could enter into it anywhere, and it's a vast landscape. But with bedroom communication, there's definitely an ascension model where
Yes.
you need to start with a foundation and then you build on that. So, and then with intimate wellness, it's what's not working. Let's just fix that, right? So, with bedroom communication, the foundation, basically, all the sex techniques in the world won't work unless you have 110% truthiness in your sex life. You want to be able to say anything
Yes.
to your partner and have them register that as feedback, not failure. And the biggest issue is, and especially for women, but also for people across the gender spectrum, that a lot of people feel two things. I don't know what I want. I just know what I'm getting isn't it. Because they've never seen something that looks good to them. It all looks like porn to them because mostly it is.
Right. So we're talking about the safety of starting something new, continuing something new, and not falling back into our old patterns, which is huge. Because once we try a few new things, we think we're on our way, and then we stop. That's very normal to just be like, that was cool. And then we do it maybe one more time, but we'll do the same thing. That was cool again. And then we go back to what we used to do because that's the pattern and that's familiar, even though it's not mind blowing. So how do we get to the place where we continue doing the things and inserting that into our lives because we need that?
Yeah. So a couple of things. The first is that having this open and free flow of communication where you're comfortable being able to ask for anything that you need, not expecting that you're always going to do things right, celebrating the failures and the things that didn't go well and the giggles and the laughs, and not getting thrown off by that, not getting thrown off by conversation during sex. A lot of people get thrown off, like you're not supposed to talk.
What is that? Yeah, it's like I've been told people think they're losing their concentration.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
such an interesting concept.
And then for many men, they put so much pressure on themselves to do everything perfectly that if you give them feedback, they think they did something wrong. They take it as a failure instead of feedback. And so the women are afraid to say anything to them because they emotionally would collapse. And so they'd rather just suck it up and then also, and these are generalizations, but generally men are a little more steady state physiologically. They don't have the ebbs and flows of the 28-day, moon cycle. Even after menopause, women are on moon cycles. And so they just assume that if it worked last time, it should work this time. And women think there's something wrong with them, that it's not feeling good this time. Women don't understand that they have not only every day, but every moment, every second of every lovemaking date could be, you could start out as a kitty cat and turn into a tigress or vice versa. And so when your partner is willing to hear what you need in any given moment and they're non-reactive and they just are like, thanks, babe. Yeah. How is it now? Is this better? And they don't have any like egoic destruction around that. It's super helpful. And so learning the fundamentals of giving and receiving feedback and practicing that sets you up with a foundation that gets more and more solid every time you make love. Then you have the agreements of communication that allow you to try new things. Then you can go to your sex life bucket list and you can try things. And that brings me to the third piece of it, which is that a lot of people feel like sex should be spontaneous, but it really, that's nice if it's spontaneous, but we're all busy.
Right. We have to schedule. Yeah.
And at my age, you get tired at night too. Like I love afternoon sex. And so scheduling dates, especially if you're in a relationship with too busy, a busy couple, or you have children, like you got to get that shit on the schedule. You got to get babysitters. You got to work around things, including that you need to go to bed at 9:30,
Yeah.
And so scheduling sex and then landing on the bed with good communication skills and what are you in the mood for? I have this new vibrator that I can wear like a harness. And while we have intercourse, you put this ring on your penis. And when you go in and out of me, it's a proximity sensor that speeds it up. So I get like this sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system zhuzhing that makes me come really well. And I thought we could try that. Would you be willing to put this on your dick for me? And, and he's like, yeah, baby, I want to do whatever you want to do. Anything. Like, he's not like, oh, this is going to replace me. This is like, this is going to make her come better. I love this thing.
Right. And I'll feel better too. Yeah.
That is what you're going for, is these fun experiences. You want to have these novel experiences that hone your skills once you have commitment to trying new things together and you're putting it on the calendar, and then you've got great communication. It's really that triumvirate that is, where you're going.
That is the big thing. It really is. And I think there are semantics, there are word phrasings that we can use so that we don't make each other feel like we're failing or we did it wrong. So I'm always really curious about those kinds of things. And also, when I've asked couples to touch their partner in a way that they know their partner loves to be touched without any feedback. And then for their partner to say how they actually want to be touched. And the partner who's doing the touching is always like, what? But you've always loved when I do this. And the receiving partner now has the opportunity to say, I did when we met 25 years ago. Love that. Right. And so I think there are these patterns and expectations that you are breaking down, and you're doing it so effectively, and it's so much fun, and you're not making it a big deal to talk about it. You're normalizing what should be normal, which is feeling good in our bodies and with each other. And I'm so grateful for the work you do. What are you looking forward to? Have you accomplished everything? Are you teaching all the things you want to be teaching? Are you learning? Have you learned? Is there anything that's on the horizon that you're looking forward to, that you want to do?
Well, I'll tell you what's coming up for me as you ask me that question, and that is that I almost always, I like public speaking. I like to speak from the stage. I love a live audience is just so extraordinary for me. I really enjoy it, and not because it's egoic, but because it's just this live interactive experience that I get to have with people. And for many, many years, and I've spoken, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times on live stages. But it's only in the last couple of years that I've gotten out of what I would call the kind of sexual wellness dungeon, where I had to sneak the vegetables into the meal. Like I could talk about orgasm if it was like a health related thing. Now I'm getting to speak actually about pleasure and orgasm and intercourse and the techniques that are
Mhm.
actually pleasuring skills at pretty darn mainstream events. So finally, sex is entering I am now the sex lady at mainstream events instead of
But you're in France, right? So is this in
I am
France?
now, but no, US mostly. But all I'm doing, I'm on an international speaking tour. So I was in Australia and I got to talk about the 20 kinds of orgasms and what they sound like. I made the noises your body makes when you come in different ways to a live audience in
Nice.
lingerie at 64.
Yes.
Which is how it should be, because that's another thing is you don't age out of sex, you get better at it. The second, let's see, in Berlin coming up, I'm speaking at Sex Tech and I'm running a mastermind for female sex niche entrepreneurs, but I'm also getting to teach women how to come better. So I'm
Oh,
doing a consumer facing how to come better than you've ever come type of a conversation where I'm teaching them everything I know about how to have great orgasms. And so I'm getting booked to do that now, which is exciting.
yes, that's exciting for you and for all of us. Eager to be able to be in those rooms with you because that is the kind of the final frontier.
Mhm.
We're learning about communication, we're learning about, respect and intimacy. Um,
Yes.
but this is important and important for all genders. So, Susan, I love what you're doing. I wish we had 7
Thanks,
more days
Teresa.
to talk. And I definitely want to show up in one of your rooms sometime. And will you
Love
just
that.
tell us again where we can find you?
Yeah, sure. You can find me at betterlover.com. And one of the weird little things about me is that I love it when people ask me questions. I'm like the Dear Abby of sex. And it's what keeps me topical, relevant, and germane to the universe. And
Mhm.
so if you're at betterlover.com and you get on my newsletter and you reply to any email I send you, I send 2 emails a week with passionate lovemaking techniques and bedroom communication skills and intimate wellness information. And if you reply to any email, it comes directly to me and I'll answer your question. So if there's anything that I've said here that you want more clarification on, or if there's an issue that you have or a desire that you have that's unmet and you want to ask me about it, feel free and I will get back to you because I do that every day. Literally every day I send back emails to people, answers. Often they think they're the only one with that problem. And it's so common. I have a free ebook about it. Like it's just, that's just how it goes. We think
I
it's
love that.
us and it's not.
I love that so much. And that is such a generous offer into the
Yeah.
world that people
Yeah.
can ask discreetly and get an ebook. Find the answer directly from the source. I love that so much. My last question for you is
Sure.
if everything you've ever done is censored today, like right after
Yeah.
this interview,
Mhm.
and nothing that you've ever said or done gets out into the world, what would be the
Mhm.
one thing that you would want everybody on the planet and beyond to hear you say?
Yeah. I'm worried about that actually, Tressa. I'm worried about that level of censorship right now. Very worried about it. I already see it happening. Um, that pleasure is the orgasmic intimacy is the fourth factor of your health, happiness, and longevity. And that you need to make time for it and learn how to do it. That you don't know how to do it. You have to learn. Anybody can make a baby. You can figure out tab A into slot B, but becoming a good lover and satisfying that pleasure aspect of things, whether it's solo or with a partner, that's really vital to your vitality.
I find that I can breathe better having this conversation with you. I appreciate you so much. And everybody, please find Susan. Please work on becoming better lovers for yourself and for each other. It's so important and it will keep your relationship alive and nourished and growing in ways that nothing else can. So yeah, Susan, thank you so much. I already love you.
I love you back. Thank you, Tressa.
You dove in. This is the Soul of Connection. Subscribe now. Stay close. Your full life depends on it.